every lap in green flag running that we have had. And so you would expect them, hopefully, in a couple of hours when we come back, to still be in that position. But as we've seen, you can get caught up in someone else's moments around the Nordschleife. Certainly the Aston Martin that ended up sideways in the track just between Schwalben-Schwanz and Galgenkopf. That has been cleared up and moved to a place of safety, but who knows under cover of darkness what happened for that one. But these things can happen. But at the moment, Raffaele Marcello is giving chase, but he is the best part of 40, he's now 44 seconds down. The last few laps he's gained a little bit, could be traffic. He's in the Rover Racing BMW, third place and fourth place, two Get Speed Mercedes, but the bragging rights at the moment for Fabian Schiller in car number 14 ahead of Lucas Auer, who's just half a second down behind him in the sister car number 17. But at the moment, as it has been pretty much since that 4 o'clock start of the race in the bright sunshine in all the heat of the late afternoon here, Thomas Preining's car that was started by Kevin Estre, but it is Manthey EMA all the way. But we've got an awful long way to go. 15 and a half hours remain. Just going to run down very quickly through the classes. Cup 2, Tim Scheerbart is now leading that for Mulner Motorsports. I think that's in the pit stop cycle, because for a long time he's been second in that class behind the number 948 entry from Losch Motorsport. But here and now it's looking very good for those two cars. Quite a long way clear of their rivals. But up front it's Porsche as well. But it's sitting on a margin that's looking very tidy. But penalties can come, penalties can go. Will it be yours or will it be the others? Will you have a setback? Will someone else spin in front of you? So many elements, so many moving parts. But the good thing this year, unlike last year, the weather is playing ball. And let's hope it can stay that way all the way through to the end of this race. So I think now is time to bid farewell to you, Snowy, not for the rest of the race, just for the end of this stint, and I will step down as well. My name is Bruce Jones. John Hindhaugh, I will hand over to you, and hopefully you have a smooth run and no red flags.
Thanks, Bruce and Snowy. It's PMAC and Hindy here in the early hours doing the overnight swing shift. We'll continue with an update of the other classes in just a moment, with 15 hours and 30 minutes still to go here from the Nürburgring. So SP9 Pro-Am is the Ford Performance Mustang that leads. Cup 2, Milner Motorsport and their Porsche, the number 918. Max Kreuzer is leading AT2 in 21st position. And that will be... I was going to start at the other end and I changed my mind. That is another GT3 Cup car. Behind them is Door Motorsport in the number 59. That's the SP8T. And that then... I haven't got enough screens to do this the way I want to do it. That is the 29th position car, and that is the Artura Trophy, of course, the bright orange machine. In TCR, the Hyundai 830, Manuel Laud, Mark Bessing among the drivers there. 83 in 35th position is the Max Kreuzer Racing Golf GTI Club Sport. SP7 is in 40th position, and that's a 911 GT3 Cup machine, 992. For K. Kramer Racing, leading their class. Where was I? SP10 FK Performance Motorsport with the 187 in 46th. W&S Motorsport League Cup 3, that's another Porsche class, number 962. 57th position is the Gorion RT by Sharkey Racing SP3T leader. And let's have a quick look to see what sort of car that is. Is that another Golf? Yes, it is. It's the Golf 7 GT. TCR, excuse me. 72nd, the VT2 front-wheel drives, the Toyo tyres with ring racing car. That is in 73rd position. And that is the Toyota Supra. Right behind them is the leader in class for BMW M240. It's the Adrenaline Motorsport M240i Racing Cup. And then there's another class leader right there as well. The Adrenaline Motorsport Porsche Cayman S number 396. Then we have to scroll down to position number 80 for the number 69 KGL Auto Motor Club Porsche 17 Cayman that leads the SP4T class. Still they come. The BMW 325i, the privately entered E90 car, that's the 700 in 94th position. In V5, the Adrenaline Motorsport Porsche Cayman CM12 leads the V5 class. Toyota Gazoo Racing Yaris, only 2 cars in that class, both from the same entrant. It's the Rookie Racing SP2T leader, 109 in 98th place. And I think the only other one that's down there, bizarrely, is the Toyo tyres with ring racing car with the SP Pro class. That's a car in a class of its own. Andreas Gulden had an accident in that car really early on, and I'm not sure that car's put in any time since then, to be honest. So let's kick off our little stint with you here with some quotes from the pit lane. Everybody seems very happy in the pit lane. And thank you, as always, to all of those who are working hard down there. We've just had a code 60 removed, so we have now a clear track, Peter. So you can start watching the times. Fabian Pietzmeier just come back in, and he must have had a problem. Somebody who was up at Hohenrain chicane, and he said there was an optimistic move for an overtaking Überholt maneuver. Great, I love German compound nouns. Contact with my car, and we've had to get the car back to repair it, but they'll get the car back out of the race, they think. As you can probably guess, with my faltering style here, my auto translate's not working for a change. I'll refresh it in a moment. So a very fresh looking BMW GT3 M4 with a Rover racing car back on the apron. Peter Mackay looking ready to go.
Yeah, been fantastic dueling on the timesheets between the leading number 911 Manthey Porsche and the 98 Rover BMW, with Raffaele Marciello for the Rover BMW closing the gap down piece by piece over that stint. Not by huge amounts, but just nibbling away at the gap. Preining is carried on for another lap. He'll be coming in at the end of this stint, but he's looking really good at the moment, is Preining in that Manthey 911. Meanwhile, there was a battle going on just as we're going through our class update. There's a really good battle going on between the number 45 Ferrari, the realised Kondo machine, and the number 44 Falcon Porsche, driven by Dorian Boccolacci. And Boccolacci was right on the rear of the Ferrari, and just as they came into what looked like a yellow flag zone, Neuber carried on, Boccolacci backed off. So I would imagine Boccolacci might be on the radio to the team to say maybe have a look at the footage again, because that cost a lot of the gap between them. The gap is sitting at 1.5 seconds at the moment, but it appears, as we are now under full cover of darkness and in the depth of the night here at the Nuburgring, it would appear, looking through the 9 sectors of this very complex track, which of course the first 2 sectors make up the Grand Prix track, the final 7 sectors make up the Nordschleife, and when you get on to the Nordschleife, it's, well, nearly every sector is dominated by the, not just Porsche, but the 911 Manthey Porsche, number 911 that is. So that is the pole-sitting car. They've been really quick all week, ever since they've rolled out the truck, despite a couple of balance of performance changes not in their favour. They had 5 kilograms added to their car. All Porsche 911 GT3Rs did just before the race today after qualifying, but it doesn't appear to have held them back too much. But they're going to have to run the perfect race, because they're being chased by both of the Get Speed Mercedes and indeed the number 98 Rover BMW, which is just taking a pit stop. Also, one of my favourite oddities of this year's 53rd Ravenel ADAC 24 Hours of the Nürburgring is the GR Yaris. That we've got 2 of them, the Gazoo Racing rookie racing machines with the big spoiler on the back, those little 3-cylinder machines, out racing in the SP2T category. I'm lobbying very hard with Mrs. Mackay for us to add a GR Yaris to our fleet. But unfortunately, it's a one-in, one-out situation, and there's no space at the moment. But maybe one day we can get one. They are an amazing little car, 4-wheel drive, with a lot of rallying pedigree behind it. And Toyota, like other Japanese manufacturers, have such a presence here at the Nürburgring 24 Hours. Subaru coming over here every year with their Subaru Technica International squad. Now, unfortunately, one of the 991 GT3 Cup machines is being pushed into the garage for service. That is a real pity for them. Hopefully they can get the damage repaired quickly or get the problem fixed. Meanwhile, the number 11 Schnitzelalm Mercedes-AMG team, who have had a tricky day of things, are going to send out their Goodyear shod 6.2 litre AMG V8 back into action. AMG has always been a strong car here, but Mercedes-AMG have not won this race since 2016, and that was the last time the pole sitter won the race, believe it or not. So will the tides turn this year? We shall see. So at the moment, Thomas Preining, race leader, on the final lap of his stint, set a personal best in sector 1, so there's still time in the racetrack, even though it's pitch black. There is still personal best sectors being set out there.
Jesse Krohn handed over to Raffaele Marciello, or was that the other way around?
Jesse Krohn has got on board, because it was Marciello prior
so he's
to
taken
that.
over from Raffaele Marciello in the Soul BMW. That's the Farfus, Krohn, Van der Linde and Marciello car. So when that car went back out, still running around at the front of the field, it is still Thomas Preining, the Austrian. Was a Porsche Junior for a little while.
Yeah, he's come through the Porsche ladder, and of course won the DTM championship with them, with Manthey, a year or 2 ago. And you know, if you're a Porsche Works driver and you get put in the Manthey Grello machine, you're very, very well thought of. Yeah, Preining on the last lap of his stint. Yep, and he comes. So who will be waiting in the wings? You can do a maximum stint of 3 hours, but then you need a 3-hour break, or if you do a 2 hour, it's a 2-hour breaker, and vice versa. So whatever stint time it is, that is the break that you need. Into the pits he comes. No real rush in the pit stops here, because they have a minimum pit stop time they have to adhere to, which gives plenty of time to do service. Fueling goes in straight away.
Meantime, we've got the Toyota number 170, the GT4 GR Supra, or at least one of them, a technical defect at the Kiddebacher Hohe. So we've got a yellow flag there and at the Steilstrecke as well, all around that sort of area in the carousel entry. So our green track didn't last very long. And despite the, well, possibly because of the fact that we have fairly leisurely pit stops here, I'm just noticing a few penalties for non-respect of minimum times. The most recent one for number 786. And we'll get a 30-second time penalty. That can be served at the next pit stop. They don't have to come in and do that. The engineer here is Raffaele Marciello, having just taken over the BMW.
So it's Jesse Krohn.
Sorry, Jesse Krohn, as we said. So the caption on the screen just slightly misleading there.
So it was Raffaele Marciello who was in it beforehand, and was doing a superb job at the wheel. It looks like Manthey are going to leave Thomas Preining on board. The Manthey mechanics having a little look in the front left wheel arches, in fact all the wheel arches, just to check everything is all okay. I can imagine the nerves are pretty high right now amongst the Manthey crew, because I think they knew coming into this week they had a potentially race-winning car. Everyone has been talking about how strong Porsche as a brand have been, whether that be in the hands of the Falcon team or indeed Manthey or the Shera Sport PHX team, which of course didn't make the start of the race after a huge crash in top qualifying yesterday. And we wish Lawrence Vantor well. Good to hear that he's recovering from that one. He walked away from the incident, but he reckoned it might have been the biggest hit of his career, and he's had a long and distinguished career, so we wish him well. But yeah, for Manthey, they're just wanting to execute as best they can. No mistakes, no penalties. They've clearly got pace. The lap time shows that, the sector time show that. But for Thomas Preining and for Aichan Guven, they've never won this race before, so they've I'm sure that the nerves are high for them to deliver under what will be a lot of pressure indeed.
Back to a green track, Peter. Everything cleared down towards that part of the lap we were talking about earlier on. Top 5 are now in the pit lane, and the first one to leave is the Manthey EMA car, still with Thomas Preining on board. Fabi Schiller's brought in the first of 2 Mercedes team Get-Speed, the 14 and the 17. Lucas Auer came in the 3rd place car, the second of those 2 machines. All of those are SP9 Pros. Then it's Abt Speedline's Lamborghini Huracan. Christian Engelhardt brought that in. Fabian Buss for Dynamic GT SRL with the Porsche in 5th, all in the pit lane. Looks like Lucas Auer stayed on board as well, but I'll tell you more about that when he goes out rather than when he comes in.
Double pit stop then for the Get-Speed crew. It's the blue, yellow and black number 14 Bilstein car brought in to the pits by Fabian Schiller. There's a driver change going on there. We'll confirm the new driver when they come out of the pits. They're quite far down the bottom end of the pits, as they often are here at the Nürburgring 24 Hour. The Get-Speed team, the number 17 car brought in by Lucas Auer. So these 2 cars actually competed in the very much shortened Nürburgring 24 Hour, or Nürburgring 8 and a bit hour we had last year because of weather. So the cars actually had a little running on them, so Mercedes-AMG decided not to actually move the cars on or retire them. It's decided to rebuild them and bring them back for this race, for this 2025 edition. And so far, going very, very well. Both of them running almost in flying formation throughout the race. And I know for a fact our colleagues, Johnny Palmer, Joe Bradley et al., they love this bright purple and pink number 17 machine, which was brought into the pits by Lucas Auer in 6th place. So after that run of pit stops, the gap has actually increased a bit, John. So Thomas Preining now has a gap of 1 minute and 5. Now that was down at 42, 43 seconds when they came into that round of pit stops. So there's a little bit of time gone back in the favour of Manthey in the 911.
So the Kinoshita, Tischner and Tonga's Toyota must have been moved, because we've gone back to green flags there, although now we've got a problem at the Tiergarten towards the end of the lap. There is a problem for the 3 Ertls and Bendorf 911 GT3 Cup 991. This is the 909 car. Maxi Ertl said Lucas just got in and drove 2 laps, but his brakes were gone, so we brought it back in, hope the problem can be resolved quickly. So that's not good news there. The Marcus Fisher driven 317 John Cooper Works Pro car also in.
Problem for the number 14.
He's just waiting. He's just waiting for his time, is he?
But you're not allowed to sit in the fast lane. Problem for Get Speed. Actually, Get Speed got a penalty for that either last year or 2 years ago. Oh no! So problem for the number 14 machine that was brought in by Fabian Schiller. We haven't even seen which driver was installed because they didn't go over the timing beam. Dear, oh dear, so something wrong there. Is that car still in the pits? Number 14, yes it is. Oh, no, what's going on here?
Well, it fired and moved and then stopped. So he wasn't even, I don't think he was even off the pit lane speed limiter. They've tried it again, they put it up on the jacks and then dropped it again. It's rolling forward, but I don't think it's rolling forward under AMG power. I think that's rolling forward on gravity, because there's a slight downhill at that part of the pit lane.
Yeah, it's getting pushed back into the garage, unfortunately. So garage being cleared, which of course Get Speed have 2 cars. They're sharing with 2 other cars in the race. That is what you have to do here at the Nuburgring Nordschleife. At the Nuburgring 24-hour, you share with cars that might be in your class, they might not.
Yeah, it's the 2 RPM racing cars, isn't it? The 777 Porsche 911, the Nick Johnson driven car. That's the Tracy Krohn car as well from memory. Running at the moment in 32nd and 8th in class. And what's the other one there? It's a GT3 Cup 991 car, the 778. See if I can find that and tell you where that one's running.
That's RPM as well.
Yes, it is. Yeah, they're both
same
RPM.
Scheme, yes.
Correct.
So into the garage then for Get Speed, and the mechanics can now pour over the car and try and fix whatever is going wrong. Interestingly, they're not opening the bonnet or anything. They're all in speaking to the driver. So is it an electrical problem? Is it something to do with the steering wheel, something in the cockpit?
Can he not select a gear?
That could well be it.
We've seen this before. Should have optioned
heartbreak.
Should have optioned the Cosworth steering wheel.
Yeah, the heartbreak for, I see what you did there. Heartbreak for Get Speed Mercedes AMG. But this is why you have more than one bullet in the gun, and this is the nervous part for, strangely actually, for Porsche, because they've got a strong front-running car. The Falcon car's on the fight back, but BMW they do have one car in SP9. That is it. So Get Speed, their other car driven by Mikkel Grenier, is off at full speed onto the Nordschleife right now, but there seems to be a degree of just confusion here. One of the mechanics doing a kind of circle round, fire it up motion. They put the laptop out, trying to find out what is going wrong with this venerable Mercedes 6.2 V8. Plugged into the car, into the electronic brain. If only you could talk to it. You say, tell me what's wrong, what's the matter?
It's kind of what they're trying to do, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. Whatever the problem is, it's not happening quickly. The fact that the engine's firing and the lights are on shows that it's maybe not an electric problem, but I think you could be right with the gear selection, John. I think if we were to guess anyway.
Have they got the car up on the jacks?
Yes.
All right, and are they spinning the back wheels? Are they running the back wheels?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now the engine getting cut off again.
They've got the rear wheels off, but I think there's either a problem with the steering wheel, or it's not totally. They're looking round the back end.
Like the drive shaft.
Did I just hear drive shaft?
Yeah, possibly. Somebody needs to stick their head in and say, "Was ist los?"
Your German's better than mine, but I did hear the word drive shaft there.
Oh, they're putting the high jacks underneath. This car is going absolutely nowhere. So this is one of the cars that we would have had down as a front runner.
mean, that's any chance at a victory gone.
Gone now.
The way that this race is now, you have to execute perfectly. If you don't, you can only afford a very small delay, and even then you need a car that's more than quick enough to make up the time.
Totally.
There's no safety cars, there's no full course yellows, nothing like that. You the best you can hope for is a red flag, actually. But I mean, that's totally out of the control. That is it, really. Oh dear. Well. Heartbreak for GetSpeed Mercedes. So Jesse Krohn then for the Rover BMW team, trying to close down the leading car, the Manthey 911. It's Krohn now coming up the hill, up towards just over the crest now, coming through. It's down through Whipperman, I think.
They've lost drive in that car. Fabian Schiller, he says, I'm at a loss for words. It was a tough 2.5 hours out there. Hairy and scary scenes. People doing 60 Ks instead of 120s in some of the slow zones. Right rear wheel has, excuse me, has lost drive. So that would sound like a drive shaft or a diff problem.
Maro Engel had just been put on board, ready to go. He'd get himself all psyched up, ready to try and run down that gap to the Manthey Porsche. That's devastating, really devastating. That's not the work of a moment either to fix that. It's Krohn now coming up towards the end of the lap. It wasn't Wipperman, it was Galgenkopf he was coming out of.
Mick Grenier is out in the number 17 Team GetSpeed car. They had a time penalty on the way in. Lucas out, Mick Grenier in. That's the Adam Christodoulou number 17 car. And the number 48 Porsche 992 has been pushed into its garage by the team.
That is double pain for GetSpeed, because not only do they have one car out the running for the win now, but a 32-second penalty for minimum pit stop time. That might sound foolish, but the thing is that is pit in to pit out. So they have to not guess. They have to calculate when they need to release the car to get out, and they're quite close to the end of pit lane there. But we have seen the GetSpeed Mercedes have a penalty for getting that wrong, having to slow down in the fast lane, and then getting a penalty for slowing down in the fast lane. So it's 32 seconds is really, really painful. But the reason why, if you lose 1 or 2 seconds of pit stop, that really adds up. That could be nearly a minute you lose over the course of the race, but just 2 seconds per pit stop. So you can't afford to just we'll be a few seconds on the other side of it. We'll just let that one go. No, you've got to be right to the 10th of a second.
This is interesting on the GetSpeed car. They haven't done what I thought they were going to do. I wonder if that's the diff that they're looking at there. There's all kinds of gubbins underneath the back. Meantime, in to the pit lane, the number 84 green and white Audi, on green and silver white, I suppose.
This is the all-Austrian Audi, the Easterland Racing Team, number 84, with Christian Klein as part of the driver lineup, which I thought was very cool. And to see an all-Austrian driver lineup, and they've been quick actually in points in their Audi R8. It's Simon Riker, Christian Klein, Norbert Siedler, and Max Hofer is a very, very impressive young Austrian driver as well. So there's it's Riker, 25 years old, Hofer, 26, then Siedler and Klein into their early 40s. Youth and experience in combined effect there for the Austrian squad. At the moment, where are they running at the moment in the number 84 team? It's the Easterled team. They are running down in 16th overall at the moment. They are in the overall SP9 class, not the Pro-Am or the AM. So It's on the fringe of the top 15 at the moment. But if they keep on trucking through the night, no mistakes, they could well find themselves heading towards the top 10 if they keep going the way they're going.
Already starting to look, though, very interesting up front. If I read the manufacturers down, Porsche, BMW, Ferrari, Porsche, Aston Martin, Ford Mustang leading the Pro-Am class, Mercedes, a Lamborghini, Porsche, where am I down to, 9th, and Lamborghini in 10th, and then another Mustang in 11th. That's the kind of variety that we haven't seen in a wee while.
And if I may, Michelin, Yokohama, Falcon,
yeah,
Michelin,
very good.
Yokohama, Michelin, Pirelli. That's the top 9.
That we haven't had that for a very long time.
It shows you how, and everybody's up in their game. I mean, Michelin are the target that everyone's going for. They've won 9 out of the last 10 24-hour races here.
The number 175 Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT4 has stopped in the second carousel.
Probably not where you want to stop.
No, well,
not in it, that's for sure.
Somewhere around there, yes, indeed.
There is no yellow flag with slow zone or code 16, and that I think that was that's about 10 minutes ago. There was a yellow flag around that area
in the carousel. In the carousel.
In the carousel.
The big carousel.
Fallen in
area, yeah. And the Dacia Logan is in the Falkenbogen area as well. That one has ground to a halt. And Maro Engel, by the way, out of that number 14 Mercedes Get Speed car. And his helmet is off. It's going to be a longer job.
It is. Hopefully they'll get that car back out there. But any chance of a win is over. They are registered for Intercontinental GT Challenge points. That's probably why they want to keep going. Otherwise, you'd maybe potentially see the car retired. But they have other things there. Marco Mappelli in 8th place is flying at the moment. He's got personal best in Sector 1 and 2. This is the Grand Prix track, which is where we've seen the Lamborghini be very quick. All the way through, to be honest, the run-up to the race as well, the 2 qualifying races, as well as through practice and qualifying so far this week. And indeed, it is the number 27, the sister car to the 28, the 2 Lamborghinis that is quickest in the Sector 1. It's been a good day for Lamborghini, on pole in the GTD Pro category for today's, sailing 6 hours off the Glen at Watkins Glen in the United States. We've of course got coverage of that as well on the Radio Show Limited network of channels. It's a busy weekend for endurance racing fans, as a very, very glum looking Maro Engel looking at his machine in despair, really, knowing that that's it. I mean, Maro Engel, I'd love to know how many kilometres he's done in Mercedes AMG GT3s. It must be into the 7 figures. You think how many miles he does a year, and yeah, unfortunately, the resigned handshakes and high fives. Big respect between the crews. I mean, Maro's driven with Get Speed for many years, driven with so many different AMG teams, and there's just utter despondency in that garage, unfortunately. They knew they were in the hunt.
Yeah. I think that's worse, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is worse.
I think that's worse, because there was certainly in play. I mean, you look at some of the gaps here. You go down to Daniel Hunkadea in the Red Bull Abt Huracan. He's 5 minutes off the lead, but that's not even a full lap. It's nowhere near a full lap. It's 2/3 of a lap. You have to, you have to recalibrate your thinking here, as we've just gone through 1 o'clock in the morning.
Maro Engel, even the suit's coming off now as well, packing up his helmet. That's in.
He's mentally out of him. He's mentally out of him.
No wonder. Yeah, that's. I mean, the other 2 drivers, of course, one will be sleeping, I would imagine, and Fabian Schiller, of course, just got out of the car, and Maro
honestly,
Engel,
I didn't break it. That's what
no, there's nothing you can do. You won't get anyone who knows
He's
that
gone.
car better than Maro Engel. And back to the motorhome, maybe for a sleep or potentially straight to the airport. This is a cruel sport.
He'd
It's a very
have
cruel sport.
driven here, Maro, wouldn't he?
He lives in Monaco, so maybe, it could be,
Well, he was going to be up all night anyway. He could be on the way home.
He's
Be home for breakfast.
yeah, it's a stint, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a Mercedes AMG he drives.
It'd be nice and comfy.
Maybe, yeah. And he's neighbours with Thierry Neuville. In fact, Thierry Neuville let him have a go in his company car, a Hyundai World Rally car, quite recently. But this is a big race on the calendar for Maro Engel, and he'll be devastated with that. Another year goes by.
Yeah, I have news on the Dacia. We've been listening into the radio messages, or at least our live ticker team have been. It's being towed towards the pits, and from what the team is saying, they've been talking to the driver. Clutch failure on that car. Mick Grenier in the number 17 Mercedes Get Speed car, and he is right at the tailpipes of the Ford HRT Ford Performance Mustang. That is a battle for position, and that is the 6th and 7th place cars.
Salman Ovega in the
and he was
Mustang.
slowed down by traffic. He was off the track for a moment.
Oh,
my
and
goodness.
Ovega just gets held up coming through Galgenkopf, and this will give Grenier a
toast.
run.
And look how dirty and dusty and cruddy it was offline. No rain here for such a long time. It's been so hot this week, and that is providing its own problems. There's very little grip offline. A number of drivers been reporting that to our ticker team. If you want to read the ticket, it's there on the website. It is in German, underneath the Bilstein Bridge. And that Mustang's got a bit of poke. I say.
V8, Ford V8 versus AMG V8, the two companies that know how to make an 8-cylinder engine in a V formation. Wow, just and up the Dottinger Hole, that is a proper straight line speed race. And in the draft, Grenier could not get much of a run. That pony can gallop.
So not only was it a bad exit from Galgenkopf onto the straight, because there was traffic there, also you're then giving a tow to the guy behind, and Mick Grenier couldn't make the pass. And that, of course, is the leading Pro-Am car. Salman Ovega.
On the previous lap, Thomas Preining lost 12 seconds to Jesse Krohn, and lap time 8:37 flat, whereas Krohn was an 8:25.4. Now, that's not because Preining has particularly made any particular mistake. That is much more likely to be a slow zone or a code 60 or something like that that's been in place when Preining came through that part of the track and then lifted before Krohn came through, and that comes and goes all the way through the race. So it's easy to read too much into that. That will come and go.
The mistake, too much curb on the Grand Prix circuits. Salman Ovega just trying too hard there. Maybe he's looking in his mirror, just coming off onto the Sabine Schmitz curb there as he went through the Vidal chicane. Took way too much curb, and it massively unsettled the car, and he couldn't get back on the throttle as they go by the Samantha Tan Mini.
Yeah, the Bulldog Racing machine.
Brilliant.
Brand new Mini. Many have made quite a habit of running their new Cooper S or Works JCW car here at the Nuburgring, and imagine that you're in that Mini. It's got well over 300 horsepower, and you're going down the ass and back as hard as you can, and you're really pushing, and then two SP9 cars come by you like fighter jets. This is not an easy race. This is one of the ultimate challenges you can possibly face in endurance racing, whether that be for the car, as we've seen in the Mercedes AMG GT3, which you'd think that car would be totally bulletproof now, and it more or less is, but here at the Nürburgring it exposes issues in cars. If it doesn't even require you to do anything wrong. It can really be cruel sometimes, and for a driver it's so easy to make an error at every turn. And in the dark particularly, you have to have your eyes everywhere, because you're looking out. If you run through a code 60 or you run through a yellow flag, or there are huge penalties, race-ending penalties. That cost the Manthey car in 2019, Lawrence Vanter leading by over 4 minutes, and they went through a code 120, I think it was, and they got a huge penalty, multiple minute penalties, and lost the race. So for a driver, it is such a challenge.
Those two cars, the two cars that we're keeping an eye on at the moment, battling for 6th position, Simon Awega and Mick Grenier, both front-engine V8 rear-drive cars. The Mustang probably a little bit higher in profile than the AMG GT. They have completely different handling characteristics. You can see by the lines that the individual drivers are taking, Grenier can turn the car into the apex easier and then hold a tighter line and release if he wants to off the corner, whereas Awega is really struggling to get that forward into the apex. Now, where are they on their respective run plans is that, you know, if there's a tyre advantage for the chasing car down towards the bridge at Adana.
Awega is 4 laps into his stint, whereas Grenier is 2 laps into his stint.
Right.
Grenier running a Michelin tyre, Awega running a Yokohama. So, you know, that could play a factor. Also, it could be down to who prefers the night as well. I mean, there's nothing more compelling than 2 SP9 GT3 cars at night on the Nordschleife have been driven by 2 proper drivers, which is exactly what is playing out right now in this battle for 6th position. And honestly, I could just revel in onboard footage of driving at night at the Nuburgring. Is just fantastic.
That's what you're going to get at this time of night.
And that's the best kind.
This is the closest battle on the circuit at the moment. There was barely 0.2 of a second when they went across the line last time around. Awega has stretched that out a wee bit at various parts of the circuit, but it appears now that as they go up towards the top of the Caracciola carousel, that the number 17 of Mick Grenier is right back there. Yes, he is. Must feel confident here. So bumpy over those concrete blocks on the inside of the carousel. There's traffic ahead. Opportunity for Mick Grenier to take a position in the overall, but not in class. 2 different class cars here. A little bit of an early break by Awega. It was just a lift off before the little jump by Mick Grenier.
Now down the hill, down the helter-skelter that is Vipperman, right, then left. So quick down here, coming through Vipperman. That you're over 200 kilometers an hour through there.
Now coming down to the left before Brunchen. That's quite steeply downhill there as well, and traffic needing to be wary of these 2 cars. One of the Hyundai TCRs there. I think that was the 831. Can't quite see it on the tracker. The closing speeds are incredible. And we've got a course vehicle there as well. It's one of the 4 Mentors. There's a job you wouldn't fancy either, by the way.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Not even with all the flashy lights in the world.
No, and that's something that why you cannot step straight into a GT3 car here. You have to go through the whole ring permit process. As Grenier gets a big amount of air underneath the front wheels coming through the Bellafest. That is so quick through there as they come up towards the Schwalbenschwanz, the really fast right-hander before Schwalbenschwanz. And then Schwalbenschwanz proper, but just before the Kleine Carousel, Awega and Grenier putting on a show here. Some fans going back to bed, some standing on the...
Mistake.
A mistake for Awega.
Yeah, mistake by Awega. He got too close to the car, exiting the Kleine Carousel, but then parked the car in the middle of the road. Now we know that he, even if he doesn't get a good exit from the triple apex right, and he said triple pressure there, sorry, bobsleigh, triple apex right-hander. So they're coming down the straight, and the Ferrari is now in. Don't panic that it's up on the jacks. That's standard operational procedure.
Thomas Neubauer looking like he's going to be left in the car, or have they already switched the driver? We'll confirm that when they come out. Of course, running on Yokohama tires, no problem. Boccolacci.
Yeah,
Boccolacci, number 44, Falcon Porsche, is going slow.
Slow puncture to the right rear. I was just about to tell you that. And a really good battle as well in SP7 at the moment. That's the 909, the Ertel and Bendorf car, ahead of the Neufler, Hopfer, Brandl, Saatchi as well. Just about, not even half a minute there. In fact, no, not even 2 seconds between them. So Boccolacci,
what do Falcon have to do to win this race? Their number 33 car taken out earlier on when Julian Andler collided with a Porsche Cup car that had spun out width of his view around that blind chicane at the start of the lap, and now a puncture has slowed down Dorian Boccolacci. Oh dear me, what do they have to do, John?
They've been so close, and they've had cars that have been quick enough down through the years. I remember when they first came into what was then the American Le Mans series, they ran incredibly a Ford GT40, well, Ford GT I suppose it would have been, the new version of the GT40, but not the GTE car. And then they ran a Porsche as well, and then they decided just to run the Porsche. That's great driving by Boccolacci. He's managed to make it back into the pit lane.
It's just
right rear. It'll be the far side from us, Peter, if you can see it at all. Heck of a drive to get that in without doing any more damage. There's a problem at Klostertal as well now.
Yeah, Boccolacci losing a lot of time there. Well over a minute. So they go to work now. So Boccolacci getting out, and driver change. That's just so frustrating there, as off goes the number 45, Realize Kondo Ferrari, run by Rinaldi Racing. That is was the front-running Yokohama car. That's now held by Salma Nuega in the Ford Mustang, but the Ford Mustang is due a stop, is it? Yes, it is. We've due a stop in a couple of laps' time.
Couple of class battles going on down the field. The Jimmy Broadbent, Steve Brown, etc. car. Jimmy in the car at the moment is chasing down the Door McLaren for the class lead. Currently only 5 seconds behind the Walking Super car. And just a little shout out as well for the number 948 in 17th position, just come into the pits for Tobias Müller at the wheel, the best non-SP9 class in the field.
The Falcon mechanics are going to have to push the car into the garage. Are they? They're twirling it around. They were paying a lot of attention to that axle where that corner where the puncture was. I don't know if there's maybe tire cords come off and got tangled around. They're trying to free something away. And this is just costing even more time. Hopefully they'll try and be able to get it done in their minimum pit stop time, so that they don't cost themselves undue time.
They seem to be working with purpose, Peter. They seem to know what's going on.
Yeah, purpose indeed.
Quick note on the best production car in the field so far. That's the number 500 BMW 330i. Oscar Sandberg, the Norwegian driver behind the wheel there. And it is the 8.3, is it? The 831 that's leading TCR. All right. They've got a bit of wheel arch liner that's stuck there.
They're just trying to rip off that inside wheel arch lining. The mechanics giving it their full might. There it goes.
But why would you do that?
That's something they want to take a close look at.
Is that what's caused the puncture? Something slipped.
Or was it a puncture, or was it something else?
TCR class is the 831. That's the Mason Felipe, Robert Wiggins et al. And it's also the best front-wheel drive car. That number 831. That's the Hyundai Motor Company ended machine. And that's sitting down in 36th position. Well, there you go. Out goes the Vulcan car.
Minus a wheel arch lining.
It's got to affect the aero under that back wheel.
Yes. Yeah. These are very intricate aero cars. The Porsche 911 GT3R, they've got an Evo package coming for next season, and it's the little under-the-car aerodynamic things that they're working on, and kinematics as well, little bits and pieces just to try and improve the overall package.
Also, the standard GT3R, which is the GT3 Formula car, is going to get the Manthey Nordschleifer louvres.
The gills.
Yeah, on the top of the wheel arches, which have been missing up until that on the standard cars. I don't think they've ever gone away here.
No, it's been very much a Nordschleifer thing. Yeah. So the front of the field, the gap actually is sitting a minute and 35 at the moment. It's gone back and forth quite aggressively because the previous lap, Jesse Krohn was 2 seconds ahead of Preining, but the gap is now sitting at a minute and 35. So all under control for Manthey Racing at the moment.
I can't believe you've just said that. Do you realise you'd be drummed out of Germany?
It's certainly out of Moy's path anyway.
Yeah, surely.
Yeah, but one little oddity, the speed trap at the end of the Dottinger hole, you'd think surely it must be one of the top class cars. No. It's actually a GT4 car running in the alternative fuels class that holds the top speed, the number 146 BMW, 293 kph. That's very, very fast.
So that's 180 miles an hour.
Because it's running in the alternative fuel class, they don't have to run it to SP10 GT4 balance of performance, so they can turn it. They can turn the engine up as much as they want to and run it as light as they can.
Something's happened at Exmüller Metzgerfeld area. Bless you, Peter. It is dusty in here, isn't it?
It is.
I've been
got the mute button in time.
You did very well. I've been struggling all week with the dust in the air, and the car is filthy again. I may have to wash that before I take it home. It just doesn't feel right driving it when it's covered in a patina of dust.
Well, sometimes big four-wheel drive cars look good when they've got a bit of...
If it was muddy up the side, that'd be different, but
true.
Dust just looks like you don't care about it. And I do. So I think I'll probably get a wash on Monday morning before I take it home. Right. So the Dupre Audi S3. Now, is leading, I think, in that combined
front four class.
Yeah, it's leading. And that's the first time since the start of the race. That was a change in the regulation for that red S2. This is the Maxime Dupre car for the Dupre Motorsport group. And last year, it was rear and all-wheel drive in VT2. Now it's been moved into the front and all-wheel drive area. Lamborghini getting pulled into the pit lane on the end of a tour rope.
That's the app number car. 27.
Yeah.
The app number 27 getting pulled in. So that's Daniel Huncadea. Now, how much time had he lost? God, what? He'd not made it. He'd gone out of the pits around the Grand Prix track and didn't appear to take any more. The app mechanics are running down to go and push the car towards the pits. So what has happened there for Daniel Huncadea in the number 27 Lamborghini? It's sitting in 8th at the moment. I think it's run out of fuel, John, because he's been 7.
No
I
way.
think he has, because that's 7 laps he'd done. So that would have been his 8th lap. Surely not.
Oh my.
Maybe they didn't get it fully brimmed up on the last pit stop, because it should be able to make that.
Valkenhorst Aston in the pit lane getting filled. This is a car that is drawing attention to a telethon, a TV marathon for RTL. But should also say that Nitro are trying a record here. They're broadcasting their major studios up in the Porsche Lounge just in front of us. Been there doing that for about the past 4 years, and they've got 28 hours straight through today.
They had Olaf Manthey as one of their guests earlier on, a true legend of the Nürburgring. Now, if for this 27 at Lamborghini, if it's just run out of fuel, that's a very easy problem to fix. You just fill it with more fuel. But I wonder if that is the case or not.
Well, they're taking the tyres off at the very least just to put some warmer ones on, I would think. And also it'll have been dragged offline, so the tyres will be full of muck and rubbish.
And they were due pit stop anyway, so this is absolutely on schedule in terms of when they were coming into the pits. So wonder if they have an onboard we might be able to have a look back on, but the engine cover coming off now. No, I don't think it's just fuel somehow.
Meanwhile, back in the battle for 6th, Mick Grenier still hasn't been able to get past the Ford Mustang of Salman Awega on the Grand Prix circuit. Goes one way, then the other. Oh, he's used the BMW as a pick there, as a little screen. They're side by side. Can't see the Ford on the inside, but I think Grenier's gone through. No, he hasn't. Here comes Awega back up the inside, but has to brake it earlier into the Schumacher S's. Oh my goodness me, that was tight. No, excuse me, that was the Vidal chicane. So that is a new 6th position then for Mick Grenier.
And will he pull away now? Because I think through the corners the AMG might well have the edge, but in the top end that Mustang was hard to pass.
Make that 4th position for Grenier because of the pit stops. My apologies. I was working on where we were the last time we saw the cars. But for Grenier, that is now 4th position, 2nd in the SP9 Pro class. Awega now demoted to 5th position, but remains the leader in Pro Am. That Cup 2 Milner Motorsport Porsche 918 now up to 17th position.
Looked just looking back at the onboard, and just seemed like a sudden loss of power coming out of the chicane after the Michael Schumacher S. I think it might just be fuel, John.
Oh dear.
Because
well, that's not even close though. It's not like he's got out onto the.
No, very true. So maybe, but it may be just that they hadn't brimmed the tank properly. But he had to basically take a very quick action and pull in. I guess on one side of things, it does mean that yes, he'll have lost a lot of time there. But if he'd gone onto the Nordschleife and the same thing happened, that would have been game over. This isn't ideal for them, but now dropped down to 9th place. But it could have been a lot worse there, I would say. No such issue for Manthey, who are just going like a steam train at the moment. Thomas Preining.
You can't keep saying that.
Yes, you can, because it's factual. I don't believe in the commentators.
Oh, dear me.
No, not at all. Not at all. But they are. They've executed so well so far, and that's what it is. That's what it's about. And the young Austrian, Thomas Preining.
Execute, it was the word of the week last week at Le Mans, wasn't it? I can't tell you how many times I heard team members saying this. Technical problem down at the exit of Metzgerfeld for the number 418 Porsche Cayman. It's the La Madrid Mendieta Krona 718 Porsche. get you some more details on that when we have them, but at the moment just listed as a technical defect. Leader going round slower traffic. This is the second stint for Preining, isn't it? They left him in the car last time by.
Yeah, it is. It is. So he completes his 5th lap of the stint. So he'll have 2, possibly 3 laps left in the car, probably before handing over. And again, this is an advantage to having 4 drivers on the lineup that they can use. They've got Patrick Pile on the lineup as well, alongside Achan Guven and Kevin Estre. Now, when you're going through the night and you've got 4 really quick drivers, that helps to just give everyone a rest, because this race is so mentally taxing, so physical as well. That makes a big difference indeed. But I remember when Manthey won it the last time in 2021, when Kevin Estre won it for the first time, they did have Lars Kern on their roster. So it was Estre, Christensen and Cairoli who won it, but they did have Lars Kern on the roster, but Lars Kern didn't actually drive.
No, he never got in the car.
So he wasn't classified as a winner, because they did have that red flag overnight.
Yeah, because we were wondering if they were saving him for a particular part of the race, and then of course 8 hours and 24 minutes into the race it was stopped and effectively never restarted. I remember
it
that.
did. We got about 3.5 hours sprint to the end in 2021. Yeah, my first 24 hours of the Nuburgring.
Yeah,
it was quite a performance from them there. But Preining, in fact, Estre's the only guy in that car that's won the race before. Pile has never won the race yet.
No way.
Yeah,
I'd have lost some money on that, Peter.
Yeah.
Keep the comments coming in at RSL_studio. Thank you for everybody who has been interacting so far.
I tell a lie, he won it in 2018. So you wouldn't have lost money on it. He won it with Nick Tandy, Fred Makovecki and Richard Leeds. So your money is safe.
Thank you. Check some of the Twitter messages while we keep an eye on what's going on out there at the moment.
Well, I mean, the number 98 Rover BMW crew, they're trying everything they can to try and chip down the gap through the night, but it's not quite working that way yet. Thomas Preining really not flinching under the pressure. The number 34 Aston Martin for Valkenhorst has now made it up onto the podium positions, being driven by Mattia Drudi. They got a little bit of a balance of performance break this morning. They got a little bit of extra turbo boost added to that turbocharged V8 front engine machine. Good driver lineup as well in that car. Christian Krognes, Mattia Drudi is in the car right now, Nicky Thiem and David Pittar, former winner of this race.
All quality, that bit.
Oh yes.
Hello to Blur Fiend over from the United States, back at the accommodations now. Great day at the track, tuned in live for another hour or so before I take a rest. Something else, the ring, isn't it? Good to know you've had a good day. Hello to the Sim Racing Bar Steward. Just back in from watching Pulp in Manchester. Hashtag RSL19N24. Good to know you're there. Hello to Brody, who was out with Blur Fiend, partly going hard at Vipperman tonight, isn't it always? Now, again, that gap coming down between the SP8T first and second. Steve Brown got in the car, and he is now, well, actually the Door Motorsport McLaren owes us a pit stop, I reckon. So let's see when that car comes in. Also in the pit stop, one of the older BMWs at the moment, the 277. love the fact that some of the cars we saw in the Classic run this morning are of the same sort of era of cars that are in there. That BMW was a 318 Ti E36, and that's the SP3 leader, that bright green car, ready to go back to green, and the Mini JCW getting out of the way so that the leader Thomas Preining could accelerate straight away. That's really rather smart driving by everybody there.
Likewise, the Hyundai Elantra putting the indicator on as well. In the driver's briefing, the drivers are told no indicator means stay on the racing line. Left indicator means you are going to go left.
Going left,
and
yeah.
if you, like you would on the road, and then right means you are going right. So that gives the. But if you do put the indicator on, you have to do that. You have to do what you say you're going to do, if you like, to try and allow the faster cars to come through. Pit work going on for one of the fan favourite cars, an E36. Yes,
yeah,
E36 M3 with the art car livery on there, number 277. A little bit of work going on there at the moment for that machine. They're in fact they're first in their class, the 318 Ti, first in SP3. In fact, they are in a class of their own. So a race finish will get them a class victory. So the gap at the front of the field, though, is 1 minute and 35 seconds. Thomas Preining leading the way from Jesse Krohn, Matteo Drudi a further, about just under a minute back, 51 seconds back from the second place. Then Michael Grenier in fourth, the number 17 Mercedes AMG, now the sole surviving front-running Mercedes AMG.
Let's have a quick look at the categories again whilst we're in the middle of the pit stop cycle. We'll start at the back of the field this time, if I may. So from the back upwards, discounting the SP Pro category car, which hasn't moved for quite a long time, some 46 laps. It's the Andreas Gulden car that was crashed very early on. Our first class leader that we come from the back is the BMW 325 E90, which is leading the 325i class. That's the number 700 car in 94th position. 92nd SP2T is the better placed of the two Toyota Gazoo Rookie Racing GR Yaris. And one place ahead is the Lars Kern-driven Adrenaline Motorsport Cayman CM12. No, that's not Lars Kern. It's Korn, isn't it? Not Kern. That's the V5 leader, the 444 that we were talking about earlier on. SP4T is a Porsche Cayman, KGL Auto Motor Club, and that's in 86th position. The Audi S3 leading VT2 front and all-wheel drive. A little chat with that team earlier on in the week when we were in the pit lane for Midweek Motorsport. That car, which is about as standard as you can get, is running 77th. Well inside the top 100. More class leaders to come. The V6 class leader is the 396 Cayman S. The BMW 330 leads the rear drive VT2 class. It's only a minute ahead of the Toyota Supra, the Toyo Tyres with ring racing car. And they're in 72nd and 73rd position. The 240i Racing Cup class is led by Adrenaline Motorsports number 650. Jens Klingmann in the BMW M2 Racing. This is the new G87 car. Still under development, really, but this is the car that's seen to be the replacement for the M240i, and will, I'm sure, have plenty of customers. So that's a class leader. Sits in 56th position at number 310. And then we're inside the top 50 with tmracing.org. Porsche Cayman in SP7. The number 80 car sits in 47th position. 3 places higher up is the FK Performance Motorsport BMW M4 G82, which leads SP10, the GT4 category. Then it's the SP8T Door Motorsport car in 32nd position. That's the McLaren Artura, the number 59 car. 2 class leaders together, the Hyundai Motorsport number 830, so Mark Bessing back in the lead of that class. That's swapping with their team car on the pit stop. Also Benjamin Leuchter for Max Kreuzer Racing in the Club Sport number 19. That's a Golf. And we've also got the AT2 class, the Österreich-driven Porsche GT3 Cup car. So the Max Kreuzer Racing. And that car leads its class. And then it's the SP9 classes ahead of that. So there's your little update whilst we have time between the pit stops.
Yeah, heading into the latter part of the stints now. In fact, the number 98 Rover BMW will be due in at the end of this lap, as it's just coming on to the Grand Prix circuit now. 7 laps done for Jesse Krohn. This is his first stint after taking over from Raffaele Marciello. Meanwhile, Thomas Preining, who's going a lap longer, or is a lap shorter in the stint, if you like, so will be 1 lap later coming into the pits. He's on the back end of a double stint at the moment. He could do a 3rd stint, but I think they will more than likely bring him out of that car and do a driver change. But if everything is equal, if you were to all the way now to the end of the race, the Manthey car would have an ever so slight edge. Why is that? Well, when you get into the last 70 minutes of the race, there is a minimum pit stop time. Yeah. The closer you are in minutes to the end of the race, the shorter your minimum pit time is. So, actually, if everything was to stay equal between now and then, Manthey would have quite a significant advantage, actually, in terms of when they would pit. But is everything going to be equal for the next 14 hours and 19 minutes? We shall see.
No, it isn't. It's the Nuburgring.
Unlikely.
Oh, big bit of gravel thrown up at Thomas Preining. By one of the Cup cars, he was...
It's a Hankook 55.
Yeah.
Porsche 911 GT3R. Right in front there of Preining.
Salman Aweka into the pits a moment or two ago. Also in the pits, in the pits, that is the SP9 Pro-Am leader. Got to think that Ford's going to be pretty happy with that car running solidly in the top 10.
Yeah, I think if their number 64 car had been kept in the game, unfortunately, this had to retire after an incident. So that car, I think, would have been right in the hunt for a podium, actually. It's been either good drivers, good pace, but I think as a debut, yeah, I agree. It's been a good start, and the cars are running reliably. That's the main thing. I think that is the want to get cars to the finish on the mechanical side of things, and then after that, then focus on going to absolute outright pace. But so far, so good for the Ford Mustang here at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. No hurry at all in the pit stops. Just get everything done as you need to. Get your work done. Get the car ready, and then send it off into another stint.
Yeah, it's not. If you are just joining us, it's not a hurried pit stop, because the minimum amount of time that you take to get into pit in and out from pit out is actually pretty generous, and there's a reason for that. There's 2 reasons for that, actually. One, with such a variety and spread of experience in the pit lane, there's a safety aspect there where they don't want people running around and tripping over each other. also, because all of the pumps are just standard petrol station pumps, there are variations between the pumps. And back in the day, some of the clever team managers would get down and somehow manage to time the flow rate and would request certain garages. Well, having a minimum pit time mitigates that. So if you're getting 15 seconds, your tank filled 15 seconds quicker at one pump than the other, your minimum pit time just means you're sitting around for 15 seconds more from one pump to the other.
Yeah, it just evens everything out. It saves the need for, you know, a lot of expensive pit equipment as well. As out goes that number 65 Ford Mustang for HRT Ford Performance, with the glowing yellow outline of the Mustang Stallion on the side of the car. Looks fantastic in these darkness hours. Salman Ovega then going to stay on board for a double stint. Shouldn't be long before we see Jesse Krohn. He's just he's about 4 minutes away at the moment. He's just out on the other end of the Nordschleife. On this lap, his last lap of the stint, still not able to take any time out of Preining. They are actually immensely closely matched on the times. Every sector, just a couple of tenths here, a couple of tenths there between these two leading cars. Nobody blinking yet.
Hello to Ray Leverne, I think is how you would say that. He's in Cape Town in South Africa. 3 feet running, so he doesn't miss anything. How are you doing the ring in the Glen the same weekend? Some years ago, I was cloned by the company.
Yeah.
The magic of broadcasting and a flyaway kit that fits in my haversack, which is the same reason we were at Le Mans last weekend, but also at Montreal for the Grand Prix and doing the Carrera Cup.
Big traffic for Preining there. Got held up massively coming through Flanskart and coming out of Icecurve and Flanskart. There was 2 BMWs dueling with each other. There was no room to get by, so that's deeply frustrating there for Thomas Preining as he goes and then straight into a slow zone. 2 yellow flags waved. That's code 120 and then down to code 60 in towards Schwalben-Schwanz. But I would suspect in Sector 7 that Thomas Preining is going through at the moment, there will be quite a bit of time gained back for Jesse Krohn, but there's so much give and take here. You're through with a field as big as we have here. You know, we had starting the race, we had 134 cars started the race. It's busy out there, so you're going to get these moments. You just got to stay patient.
Gavo Till saying, wow, this looks much more physical than Le Mans. Le Mans is still a physical track because it's so high speed.
It's very mentally taxing, Le Mans.
That is very true. We had a couple of drivers saying that.
A lot of them were, yeah. But here you've got the physical and the mental together. That's why it's such a fierce challenge. And a little bit of
Robert Wiggins car in. The Michael Lewis is at the wheel of it. Now that was leading the class on the pit stop rotation. It swaps between itself and the Manuel Lauk and Mark Bessing and company car.
The sister car, yeah. So both Works Hyundais. I mean, really trying to beat the Works Hyundais in the TCR category has been almost impossible for anyone. They've just been so strong over the last few years here at the Nuburgring Nordschleife. But the bonnet coming up and looking in at the engine bay, that's never good.
Oh, that car's been
on the front left.
Yeah, that car's been up the wall. Yeah.
At some point, yeah. Now, and there's quite a lot of pride at stake. The young American drivers in the Hyundai team, they're desperate to try and beat the World Touring Car drivers that are in the other car. Now, are they going to be able to get back going? Looks like it. Bonnet back down again. Just wait for the lollipop man to flick his extended lollipop, and then off you go.
Off you go. Go on.
Go on, when you're ready. Oh, the fuel's still going in.
Oh, right.
Oh, that's a particularly slow pump. And it just coming down to the mandatory pit time. 5 seconds left, 4 seconds left, 3 seconds left.
It's Michael Lewis, by the way, who's in behind the wheel.
Just like that, off he goes.
Those little 4-cylinder turbocharged engines make a decent noise, actually,
They're
don't they?
pretty aggressive things.
Yeah.
350 horsepower from those TCR machines, maybe even a little bit more than that now. That's what they used to be anyway. As into the pits comes Jesse Krohn at full pace, then down to 60 kilometres an hour.
That's from second position, Peter. So this is their 6th time into the pit lane. Thomas Preining yet to make that stop. And there was about 2 minutes, 1 minute and 48 seconds, as the number 98 Rover Racing, Rover Motors as it is. Motor oil, of course.
They had one of their best adverts ever when they won the Spa 24-hour back in 2021 with a Porsche, and they had an oil leak, and yet the engine still made it. They almost had no engine oil left, but their oil kept the engine going, and that was certainly a good advert for that Rover team. Always a threat here at the Nürburgring, though. They've a really impressive lineup.
They have run several manufacturers down through the years. Didn't they run a Mercedes at one stage as well? I'm imagining that.
Possibly. It's a good question. They definitely ran a Porsche.
Yes,
Remember that? It was
Porsche.
Bamber, Vantor and Tandy winning the Spa 24-hour that year with a truly dramatic finish.
That's not a dangerous triumvirate, is it? Dear me. Now, one of the Toyota Gazoo Racing Yaris has been pushed backwards down the pit lane. Oh, he's not allowed to drive backwards. That is still ticking over.
What's gone wrong here then for the Toyota Gazoo Rookie Racing? Have they put enough fuel in it? I wonder. It's the tailgate being pushed up, but I wonder. No such panic at the Rover crew, just making sure everything is all good to go for sending that car back out after its pit stop. Jesse Krohn staying on board. Meanwhile, the car he's trying to chase of Thomas Preining still heading out around the Nordschleife at the moment. Interesting update on the App Lamborghini, which is now running down in 11th place after having to miss out. Basically went out onto the Grand Prix loop and came round the Grand Prix loop and had to go back into the pits without going on to the Nordschleife for the 8th lap of its stint, potentially running out of fuel. Daniel Hucadella has just put in the absolute best sector in Sector 2. So it's
wow.
It may be driving a bit angry possibly after that one. So nothing wrong with the car now, and that means that the number 27 App Lamborghini is quickest in Sector 1 and Sector 2 throughout this race. So that is the Grand Prix track again, the happy hunting ground of that Huracan GT3 Evo 2. Off goes Jesse Krohn. Going to take another pop at the Manthey 911, trying to run that gap down as best he can.
Peter Mackay and John Hindhoff in the booth at the moment as part of the international TV feed. Matteo Drudi just coming through their first part of the Grand Prix track.
Yeah, and that's Rover BMW. They've just got to keep the pressure here on Manthey, try and force them into any kind of mistake, whether that be driving or operational. Just keep that pressure on through the night. It's a long way to sunrise even, let alone the end of the race. Remember, it's 4 p.m. race finish, so it's a long way through. Still 14 hours and 8 minutes left to go. Preining now heading towards the end of the lap. So he will be, I would suspect, handing over, because otherwise he might well, but actually, yes, be able to stay within a 3-hour maximum stint time with 3 full stints. Yes, he could. But is that a good idea? I don't know. And not when you've got 4 drivers, I don't think. I think if the 2 hours at a time gives a driver a good rest in between stints while his teammates get down to business. Of course, they'll either have, some of the drivers will have motorhomes, but some of them will be staying in the Dorrant Hotel by the start-finish straight. You see many of them going up and down in the lift. That's where we're eating this week, and we see the drivers going up and down the lift, heading off either for a stint or indeed for a snooze.
It is a bit of an extravagance, but it just means you're right on the circuit. You can walk straight in.
When you're running, if you're running at the factory level, a top SP9 GT3 car, an expensive hotel room is the least of the problems, I think.
Right, let me dig into what happened with the number 14 Get Speed Mercedes, now retired by the team, and it was a defective drive flange, so it was the blew the diff up as he was trying to pull out. Oops.
That's I mean, the chances of that happening on such a well-established car, a car that was brand new in its development cycle, maybe, but for that to happen, that's so frustrating. But that, again, that is the stress that this circuit puts through the car.
The 146 BMW M4, Carrie Schreiner telling our reporters in the pit lane at Metzgerfeld the car caught up with a GT3 that braked abruptly before it caught 60. Our brakes aren't that effective, so that's when we got the front damage. We'll be back out in about 10 minutes, and that came in about 3 minutes ago.
Which GT3 might that be, I wonder? That Carrie Schreiner's gone into the back of. The thing is, braked abruptly going into a code 60. Yeah, that's kind of the idea. But yeah, that's. I wonder which GT3 that was. Is Thomas Preining coming up along the Dottinger Hole past past the workshop on the left-hand side at Moispath, underneath the bridge at Antonius Bucca, with a blue light flashing. That's to tell the cars ahead that one of the top cars is coming through. It's really helpful for them. There are no blue flags at night here, only in daytime hours. So the only blue you'll see is that in the windscreen into the pits then from the race lead.
Wow. How many laps was that?
8. Yeah, so everyone's going on an 8-lap stint run at the moment. Now, who's going to get in this car now? They've got an embarrassment of riches in that Manthey team. Who's next in the rotation for Grello? Car number 9 either runs 911 or 1, depending whether they've won the race the year before. That's Kevin. That looks to me like Kevin Estra marching purposefully towards the number 911 Grello machine.
Has taken on a life of its own, this car, in that Grello colour. I suggested because green and yellow would be Grello, and it's a yellowy green colour. But of course that's in English. It should be grün and gelb. So it should be Grelb.
I think Grello's a bit more catchy, I think.
Oh, I like Grelb.
I think. Well, whatever it was, that's a fantastic stint from Thomas Preining. That young Austrian has done his job for the moment. He can go and have a debrief with the engineer, get a little bit of a refreshment, and go get a well-earned rest. Job done under immense pressure, because the number 98 Jesse Krohn-driven Rover BMW is keeping the pressure on all the time. We'll confirm if it was Kevin Estra that got in the car. It looked awful like quite a tall character with the Grello helmet as well. Of course, remember when Kevin took that emotional win, his first ever win at the Nuburgring 24-hour in 2021, and his wife Carol watching on with their then young son Tommy, who was fast asleep when he came over the line. Tommy's obviously 4 years older now and is now absolutely car mad and loves what his dad does, and was cheering away when his dad came over the line to take pole yesterday. Family Estra all here in force to watch Kevin do the job.
heard Bruce Jones talking about the Subaru STI entry, the WRX. That's number 88 car. Not much. The team was saying that they were looking to get inside the top 20, as they have done before here. By the end of the race, they had a long pit stop. That's why Bruce and Snowy were discussing it, and apparently there'd been some quite heavy contact at the exit of Siphon, and that is Kevin Estre behind the wheel, the unmistakable eyes of the Frenchman.
The smiling assassin. He's
good though, isn't he?
Out of the car is one of the nicest people you ever meet. A true gentleman in that sense of the word. But in the car, he is an animal. Put him into anything and he drives the wheels off it. His opening stint at Le Mans a week ago, from 21st on the grid up to the sharp end of the field, it's one of the best stints I've ever seen. And he's had a few good stints here at the Nuburgring 24-hour. Will this be another? This is probably the time of the race where actually heroics and fireworks aren't necessarily the order of the day. It's just sector by sector, keep clicking off the laps, tyres and fuel. But you can be sure if the fireworks are required later on in the race, he'll be there to do it.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? You've got to be there with a car that can fight. No point being there with a car where you think any second now a wheel's going to fall off because you've been hip checking people. So we'll run down the categories for you again in a moment or two. Just a reminder where we are in the race. Coming up at 2 a.m. Central European Summertime, and what is the second shortest night of the year. It was the shortest night of the year last night, with well under 8 hours between sunset last night to sunrise tomorrow morning. It's as late as we've had this race for many years. Peter Mackay and John Hindhaugh in the Global Broadcast Centre for about another half an hour or so. Team GetSpeed back out, should I say. We'll check that out in a moment or two. So, a race that is currently still got 14 hours on the nose to go. So not even at half distance yet. The usual folderol at the start of the race. Kevin Estre leads by about a minute and 14 seconds to the Ferrari 296 in second, the blue and white car. That's the Realise machine from Rover Racing in third. In the classes, Pro-Am SP9 is the HRT Ford Performance Ford Mustang. The Cup 2 Porsche GT3 Cup car of Müller Motorsport is well inside the top 20. And actually, that's a great battle going on, because the 48 Loesch Motorsport car, that's now which Müller is that in that one? The 949. Anyway, they're only 0.2 of a second apart, having a great scrap. Max Cruz Racing leads the AT2 class with their 644 Porsche. And further down the field, it's Mark Bessing back to the lead of TCR, the number 830 Hyundai. Freddie Dawes just come into the pits in the McLaren. Now, does that mean that the Team Bilstein car goes through and picks up the lead? It does. That's the 150. Jimmy Broadbent, Steve Brown, and the rest of them. Max Cruiser Racing has Jan Kristoffersen leading in AT3. To the SP10 leader, the 187. Further down the field, WNS Motorsport leads Cup 3. And the number 97 car leads SP7. And I think that's all bar one. There's an SP3T that I need to find. The M2 Racing, the new G87. You see that one going around. BMW Works colours. And that is the number 310 in 59th position. And the BMW 240 class itself, Adrenaline Motorsport, leading with their number 650. Just a couple more to go. VT2 rear drive, that's the Toyo Tyres Supra. And the Audi S3, as we mentioned before, leading VT2 front and all-wheel drive. And those, ladies and gentlemen, bar the SP40, KGL Auto Motor Club 718 Cayman, and the Sagmeister driven 325 E90 in the BMW 325 class. That's the 709 in 94th position. And those are your class leaders. Oh, actually, there's that 318 Ti, the 277 green car. That's your class leader in SP3 in 108th position. And those are your class leaders. So at the front of the field, it's Porsche, it's Kevin Estre, it's Manthey by 1 minute and 13 seconds over Ferrari, BMW, Aston Martin and Ford for the top 5. Incredible scenes earlier on, Peter. Such an unlucky incident for Julian Andlau. Completely unsighted. The Saint Royale number 94 Porsche round the corner, just out of sight, and neither of the drivers could do anything.
No, not at all. That's just devastating for Falcon and for Julian Andlau. Just like you said, unsighted, came around that blind chicane and the car in the way, just in the wrong place. And this event can be so cruel at points. Likewise, the Sheriff Sport number 1, Luca Ludwig, just got in the car, got up towards Klostertal, looked to be too late on the brakes, bang, into the barrier.
Amazing that car wasn't more damaged. Got a couple of updates for you from the pits, which we'll do at the end of the highlights reel. We have had some great racing, and Dorian Boccolacci threading the needle earlier on. The usual array of fireworks. Interesting comments from Thomas Preining that I'll read to you in a moment once we get out of this highlights package, as I say it. Into the early morning here, we're still just under 14 hours to go. Team Get Speed with problems coming out of the pit lane, and that, I'm afraid, was to prove terminal. That proved terminal. The drive flange on the diff. I mean, of all the places to go on the pit lane as you're pulling out slowly, when you consider how much hammer they get over the curbs.
Yeah, just puts the car through so much stress, and it's not going to be another N24 win for Maro Engel, unfortunately. The wait continues for him, for the pole sitter in 2016. Falcon, with one car out, had to take on repair to their number 33 after a puncture cost a lot of time, and a slightly strange incident for the number 27 Lamborghini as well, which may have run out of fuel.
Yeah,
certainly had to pit prematurely.
Pit crews now, this is the time when you've got to keep your concentration as the pit crew as well.
It is.
These cars are out for about an hour, and it's so easy to have brain fade and finger trouble.
It is, yeah, and to get those timings wrong. We've seen a lot of cars get a penalty for minimum for not serving the minimum pit time, and it's a 32-second penalty every time, and that is really punishing. So that is something that the drivers have to be on top of.
So we're back to full green track again at the moment. I wanted to give a couple of quick quotes from the pits. Kevin Estre leading, of course, at the moment. Thomas Preining saying, we have to push hard. That BMW behind us is very fast, and we're feeling the pressure. Not easy to stay in rhythm at the night when we've had so many code 60s and double yellows. We're sticking to our plans for now. I'll have a quick bite to eat, sleep for an hour, and then back in the car. Into the pits for one of the Supras. That's the VT2 Hecker machine, the number 263.
Very much a standard road car, GR Supra there, to be running in that category. In fact, so much so that it's got even the road, exactly where you would fill up the road car with the standard fuel flap on the right-hand side. One car, it's been quite a celebration actually for the Golf GTI. It's in its 50th anniversary year, and just this week Volkswagen have launched the GTI 50. So I remember when the edition 30 came out, and then there was the edition 40, and now edition 50, and the Max Cruiser Racing Run machines running on the alternative fuel. They've got some really good horsepower, and at the moment it's Johan Kristoffersen on board, the multiple World Rallycross champion and seriously accomplished stage rally driver too.
So just a reminder, no yellows, no code 60s. Now Benjamin Leuchter in that Golf Club Sport. Now that's the headlight, that's a set of headlight alignment that I can get along with. I think it was the BMW, wasn't it? The SP9 BMW the other night that we were watching the onboard footage of, Peter, and it was barely 100 metres down the road.
Our graphic is showing on our world feed pictures Benjamin Leuchter. It is Johan Kristoffersen who's on board at the moment, and leading in the class in AT3 at the moment. But yeah, a lot of the teams were paying attention to those lights, particularly that Max Cruiser team, funnily enough, getting those laser lights that complement the car's existing headlights, so it's additional headlight material on there, and illuminating the circuit very, very well for Johan Kristoffersen. So at the front of the field, Kevin Estre now on board the leading Manthey Racing Porsche. The gap is just through the pit cycles come round a little bit. The number 45 Realized Kondo Ferrari is up into second, but does owe us a pit stop in the next 2 laps. So the gap actually net between the Manthey 911 and the 98 Rover BMW is about what it was before the pit cycle. So Kristoffersen absolutely on the limit in this Golf GTI. Used to driving 4-wheel drive machinery, of course, so front-wheel drive for the Golf GTI Club Sport 24-hour. Up towards the carousel he goes. Quite a quick car in a straight line, actually, looking at the speed trap times of this machine, and really not that much different than an SP9 car, actually, when you look at the speed trap times on the Dottinger hole. It is a quick machine. Up towards Hoaak now, a little bit of traffic to contend with. It's another Golf, funnily enough, as he gets by at pace.
More pit lane speeding issues, including the number 488. That'll be a 30-second time penalty.
Also, the number 786 machine, I'm pretty sure that's the Lamborghini running in SP9E. Yes, it is. The Renazzo Motorsport has been asked to come to race control with the video described in the email. That sounds like a proper summons to the headmaster's office for that crew. The racetrack is still providing pace as Marco Mappelli has put in the best sector of the race through sector 1. So now still Lamborghini really quick over that first portion of the lap. Now that Renazzo Lamborghini that has had that headmaster's office summons is now into the pits. At the moment running in 12th position in the overall standings. The Renazzo team, one of the other Lamborghini teams, was that car just been brought in by Christoph Breuer. So a new set of Goodyear tyres going on there as well. But in TCR category that's been dominated by Hyundai over the years, it still is being dominated. It's a 1-2 at the moment. It's Marc Basseng, the Spanish ace, at the wheel at the moment, leading by a good margin over the sister car. You can hear that there. There's the slight bit of wheel spin there, asking for the power from that front wheel drive machine. A Hyundai Elantra that runs all over the world in TCR competition, and indeed in the Michelin Pilot Challenge, in the IMSA WeatherTech paddock. Up over the curbs through Metzgesfeld 2 and down towards Callan-Hard now. Hard on the brakes there. And then down through part of the circuit known as Miss Hit Miss, down towards Versifen. Got 3 right-handers, 1, 2, and then 3, and round again, down towards Versifen, and then you've got to hit the brakes hard. Slowest point on the circuit here, or certainly on the Nordschleife anyway. Down to second gear in a TCR car, and then back on the power. Getting that traction as best as you possibly can. 13 hours and 45 minutes to go here in the 53rd running of the ADAC Ravenel 24 hours of the Nürburgring. Unfortunately, a red flag, not for weather, which has been the case the last couple of years, but a red flag for a major power outage in the area, which meant that we could not continue racing while that was going on. A lot of, obviously, electricity required for the safety equipment around the circuit, communications, lots of different things that we need power to run from. So unfortunately that halted things for a little while, but good work from all involved to get back racing again. Also, so many different oddities in the Nürburgring 24-hour. It's not just the SP9s at the front of the field. We also have various different unusual machines, quite like this, the Toyota GR Yaris driven by Hiroki Ishura. They had a little bit of a delay in the last pit stop, had to push the car back to the pits and do extra work, but it's going hard at the moment, and I bet Hiroki's having a blast right now, driving through the darkness here at the Nürburgring in this Toyota GR Yaris. 4-wheel drive. You can hear in the background there the 3-cylinder machine, 1.6 litre 3-cylinder. Same engine block that's used in the Toyota GR Yaris Rally 2 car that you'll see competing in the WRC2 Championship and the European Rally Championship as well. Sounds fantastic, throaty little engine. 4-wheel drive as well, so if we'd had a wet Nürburgring 24-hour, this would be the ideal little weapon actually, the GR Yaris. But thankfully, one of the warmest Nürburgring 24 hours in several years, one of the latest dates that we've had in some time, back to the more traditional end of May date next year. So make sure mark that in your calendars. It's already been published. Always following with the bank holiday, either Ascension Day or indeed Corpus Christi holiday. It's through underneath the Adenauer, or over the Adenauer Bridge, goes Hiroki Ishura, pushing hard in that little GR Yaris.
You've got a hankering for one of those.
I really do. It's more than is healthy.
Would that be a daily? Do you think you can daily one of those?
For the purposes of people who might be listening, yes. Definitely.
you'd be prepared to do a long-term real-world road test on it just for the...
I would.
In the interest of science?
I would.
Yeah, OK.
I think we might have to write a nice letter to Toyota UK.
Toyota Cupra Leon, one of the KL cars with Hakim Evans in behind the wheel, and that is a... That looks like a brake fluid top up there.
The mechanics there with the fan trying to keep the engine cool.
I know, that's oil.
Turbocharged engine will be running pretty hot. In fact, the E8 888 engines in the Cupra, I had that same engine or similar engine in my Golf R that I had many years ago, and it did actually use quite a lot of oil and ran pretty hot. So that was running it on the road. So you can imagine 7-8 laps or more around the Nuburgring. That's going to put it a lot more under stress.
All of the intervention vehicles are Cupra Formentos this year. Had a look at them in the pit lane on Wednesday, since we were getting ready for midweek motorsport, or Mittwoch motorsport, as it was. Toyota Gazoo Racing have come here mob-handed, really, haven't they? We've got a GT4 Evo 2 Supra as well. All the GT4 cars built for Toyota by WRT, who've just moved to their new premises opposite Liège Airport. And splendid that is as well.
There is lap time now in the racetrack because Mark Bassing in the lead of VCR has just set the best lap of the race for that category, a 9:02.4. Amazing. But even under the cover of darkness, it's all about getting that clear racetrack, because these drivers who compete here at this level, they all know the circuit so well.
Oh yeah,
they know it like the back of their hand. And I always find, I've never raced here, but I always find when I'm struggling to get to sleep, I do a lap of the Nürburgring in my head, and I don't think I've ever got as far as Klostertal before I'm snoring my head off. I'm told.
Okay. I thought I'd have a look at the weather for tomorrow. Very warm with sunny periods. Potential of strong thunderstorms this afternoon. Potential flooding, hail and damaging wind gusts. High of 31, and tonight, Sunday evening, low of 14. Right now, around about 18 degrees Celsius, with one or two cloud formations bubbling up over Europe. So is there still a sting in the weather tail that has been so absolutely lovely here at the Nürburgring?
Wow.
When you've had this much heat and this much dryness, those pop-up thunderstorms, they bubble up out of nowhere. They don't show on the rain radar until they're literally on top of you.
Well, we have had, just wall-to-wall sunshine all week. We've been very, very lucky with the weather. We had a very good week of weather at the Le Mans 24 Hours too. It's been a real fortnight of sunshine in this incredible month of endurance racing madness. So, of course, the Spa 24 Hours coming up next week too. A few drivers doing all three of those races.
Endurance.
I like that. Yeah.
This Toyota GR Supra GT4 Evo, part of a set of cars that Toyota have brought over. Sadly, one of the GR Yaris's didn't get too far into the race. And you saw your first GR Corolla earlier on today.
I did, in a very cool shade of like light blue.
Yeah.
We don't get it in the UK. We'd love to.
Is that a platform thing? Is that just because it won't translate the foot to right-hand drive?
I'm honestly not sure what the rationale is.
It's on a postcard, please, at RSL_studio, if you don't mind. If you can tell us. RSL_studio. Johannes said in olden days they ran the N24 in October a couple of times. The operative words back then were cold and miserable. I bet they were. It's the first time watching this type of endurance racing, says Gav O'Toole. Says these guys racing are in a different league. They really are. Remember, we started nearly 140 cars. Morito San is at the track, so perhaps P-Mac could go and speak to him directly and request a GR Yaris with the new direct automatic transmission. Those
manual,
TG,
preferably.
well, both the TGRR 2T entries were equipped with it this year.
Yes, and unfortunately, maybe Maurizio, and this is Maurizio, of course, Akio Toyoda, the big boss of Toyota, he might not be in the mood because, of course, that is the GR Yaris that went out early on, unfortunately. So they've been in the pits ever since, unfortunately. So it is the other GR Yaris that's having to pick up the mantle. That's the number 109. In fact, no, Maurizio's actually. They've got two entered with a very similar driver lineup.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. So that, well, maybe then it would be a good time to go and ask, could I have a go in a manual GR Yaris?
Now Jan says, because you were talking about it a wee while ago, I actually thought that Grello came from the German grell, which is a word that's used to describe a very bright or loud colour. You may actually be right, but I always thought it was green and yellow. Green and yellow, Grello. But as I said, that would be English and not German.
Maybe they could get Chris Martin and Coldplay to do a remake of the smash hit single Yellow, but it was all Grello.
It was all Grello. They will if they win this one.
Yeah. And have lyrics about the drivers and things. That's something maybe for our road trip on the way home.
GG said, yes, but would anybody buy, because I suggested grün and gelb for green and yellow, green and gold really, I suppose, but green and yellow, but would anybody buy a Grulb t-shirt? A Grulb t-shirt? Possibly not.
Into the pits from second place then comes the number 45 Realized Kondo Ferrari, run by Rinaldi Racing.
Yeah.
Thomas Neuber at the end of a double stint, so should well see a driver change there on that Yokohama shed machine. The leading Yokohama car at the moment at Rinaldi Ferrari. Rinaldi being a big part of Ferrari's very strong era, of course. The first ever time that 296 competed here at the Nuburgring 24 Hour, they won with the Fricadelli team.
Yeah, and that was Rinaldi had a big hand in that.
Big hand in it, yeah. And they've continued to run the cars. They've just got one in the race this year.
That is a surprise to me that after Fricadelli won 2 years ago, that there wasn't a squadron of Ferraris the following year. Suppose it depends on the team, and you have to know the Nürburgring, and you have to have the right drivers.
Yeah, you do, and it's you know, it might have just been one of those things where everything clicked together. It's not the cheapest car to run.
No, all buy.
No, definitely not. Good stint there from Thomas Neubauer. Changes over. I didn't recognise the helmet design. We'll get a confirmation when the driver goes out. It's not Felipe Fernandez-Laza, because he has a helmet that's very similar to Michael Schumacher's old helmet.
Yeah, that's right. Just as we were getting ready to come back to the circuit and take over for this little shift, Luca Ludwig had an accident, and the team have put out a statement to say that the car had some electrical issues which contributed and resulted in the crash.
That makes sense, because it looked a very un-Luca Ludwig mistake. Totally. It was coming up through Merck curve, no problem, ready to hit the brakes for Klostertal, and it seemed like he missed his braking point by a long way, and then clattered into the barrier. And I thought, that's not like Luca Ludwig at all. He's way too experienced for that.
ABS sensor, something like that. If it was electrical, they're not being any more specific than that.
Could be.
Hello to Randy Sherwood and Stuart Copeland, watching from San Diego, California. Not that Stuart Copeland, it's spelt the other way, I think. But hello, Randy and Stuart.
So the Rinaldi team fire up the 2.9 litre V6 and the 296 GD3, ready to send it off. Off they go then. I'm pretty sure it'll be David Perel, but let's see when they come over to clip the end of pits. It is David Perel.
And I was right. Rover did run Mercedes.
The SLS.
The old SLS, right up till 2016. Thank you, Ian McCarthy, for finding the pictures. I had a memory of them when we used to use the Aston Martin lounge towards the end of pit out. And Rover Racing had always had the big end one at pit out. Liam Harrow asks, do you know if the GT3 car's fueling port is converted from dry brake to normal fill, or is there an attachment that allows the normal nozzle into the dry brake? I think the latter, Liam. You used to have to fill up a bottle and then drop the bottle in. Who was that on the wastegate?
Ferrari.
Fantastic. Morning to Matt Hawkey Hawkins, been tuned in since the start, missed only around 10 or 20 minutes so far, got distracted by watering the front garden again. Could pop round to mine and do that, could you? It's probably past caring now. He says, I've forgotten how crazy this race is with no safety cars, let alone all the safety vehicles motoring around to various incidents. And just about half an hour ago, it was still 21 degrees in Northamptonshire at Rushden. Heavens above. Oh, very good from Ian McCarthy. He said if they changed it to your German version of Grulb or Grell, then they wouldn't be able to use Grello on Sunday, Cello on Monday. I like that, actually.
Gold star.
Yes, which they have yet to purchase from me or indeed respond to my emails about. Very good. Very good.
Pit stop for the Schnitzelalm number 11 Mercedes, and you would say after the incident that they had, the big off that they had, you'd think that surely that was their race done. No. The powered by Schnitzel, that shows you can solve or achieve anything when you're powered by Schnitzels, and that's exactly what the Schnitzelalm team have done. They've got that car repaired, and they're back, they're fighting on.
And on that note, it's time for us to take our leave. We've done the 2-hour stint, and we'll say, for the moment, we'll bid our farewell and leave you in the capable hands of Bruce Jones and Peter Snowden.
Thank you very much, John. Back into the saddle we go, and things change little by little, but the real marker for me in the 2 hours that we had off was the number 14 Get Speed Mercedes that had been running so strongly. First of all, Lucas Stoltz, Maxime Martin, Maro Engel all having their stint, but Fabian Schiller was at the wheel, and they were looking to have it going back onto the track, and it failed in the pit lane, Snowy. In the end, a defective drive flange, something small. The car clearly fine as it left the pits, but didn't get as far as pit exit, had to be pushed back and over and out. But good to see the number 11 car from SR Motorsport by Schnitzelalm. They're fixing that one, so that can go back out, and that got injured early in proceedings. But again, you know, there are various times when a car looks really rather broken, and yes, it can be fixed, and other times when there's nothing external, viz what happened to the number 14 Get Speed Mercedes, where you can see nothing but something broken, something they can't fix, over and out.
And it never ceases to amaze me. I've said before with the Aston Martin we saw earlier on in the race having a anti-dive plane refitted. A brand new one came out, but to fit it on quickly, they literally got a drill out and literally put self-tappers on and screwed it straight to the front PU of that car. Same with the stitch line Mercedes we've just seen being worked on there. Obviously something's not, the bonet's not locating properly. So gaffer tape, obviously colour coordinated because it's day glow one part and black a little bit, so done accordingly. So 2 tape man out there without it, and one of the bonnet catches, well, it's not exactly sitting where it should do. So what do they do? A cable tie. How high tech can you get?
Exactly. And John and Peter Mackay were debating, should the Manthey Porsche be known as Grello, which we've accepted as green and yellow. They said, of course, that's in English, not in German. And they started talking about the German, which is Grün and Gelb. And I actually, they call, what do they call it? Grulb or something. I think I like Grungel. Grün, and you just silent B at the end. But anyhow, Grello it is, and Grello it shall stay.
Yeah, I think we'll stick with Grello. So the other Gruntle sounds like sort of a Christmas thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what.
Grinch driving it.
Nobody can stick with the Grello. That's the thing. Every single stint, not so long ago, Kevin Estre came back in for another bash after a double stint from Thomas Preining. And talking of stint length, we're looking, if things run to plan, 8 laps, 8 laps, 8 laps. That's, and when I'm talking about stint length, I'm actually talking about the top class of cars. It's the GT3 cars that run in the SP9 top category here in the ADAC 24 Hours of Nuburgring. And Kevin Estre leading by plenty at the moment, waiting to see what the interval is when the Rover Racing BMW Jesse Crone at the wheel. When we were last on, there was still a 32-second penalty hanging over that car. It was giving chase in second place, but actually losing ground, unfortunately for them. But that penalty has been rescinded, so it's like the double insult isn't going to happen. But the main thing is, it doesn't matter which of the 4 drivers for that Manthey EMA Porsche are on board. Estre on board at the moment. Ryan Guven, Patrick Pilet, Thomas Preining, all been, just there or thereabouts, just looking rock solid, building the lead bit by bit by bit. So at least for Rover with their BMW car number 98, it's not going to have to suck up 32 seconds of penalty. That has been rescinded. It might keep them in the hunt, but almost with every lap, Peter, that gap is growing, not coming down.
It is. It's going away from them, isn't it? Which, we fully understood that. We had that bit, but I think it was 15 seconds was the gap when the 32-second penalty was issued. That then rose to 32 seconds on the road without including that penalty. That's then rescinded, but it's kind of also become pointless having the penalty because it just hasn't made any difference to it. What it has done for the moment, though, is we mentioned already, and I'm loving to see this. Not because of what you think is going to be really obvious. I'm loving to see the diversity of manufacturers at the top of this. Yes, it's a Porsche at the moment, has been the way on most of the races at the Nuburgring this year. It's the Estre driven at the moment Grello Manthey 911 GT3. Next to it is in second place, the BMW of Rover Racing, Valkenhorst Motorsport, Nicky Team aboard the Aston Martin. A Vega on the HRT Ford Performance Mustang. I always want to say Mustang when it's a Ford. That's got a brand. The model is the Mustang, but I always go Porsche, BMW, Ferrari, Mustang. Well, I don't know why I dip out on that bit.
Well, I'll tell you why you do that. It's just the way that car's been branded since it was launched in the early 60s, alongside General Motors' offering, which, of course, is the Corvette. And Corvette, you don't really hear people talk about Chevrolet racing all those years at Le Mans in the IMSA series. You talk about Corvette racing. So because they wanted those strong sporting brands, you've got half an excuse for saying what you were saying.
Marco Mappelli it is that's in 5th place in another brand, Lamborghini. We then have our first Mercedes with Adam Christodoulou aboard, who had a punchy first lap. We described that Kevin Estre and David Pittard were known for their elbows out first laps. Well, Adam Christodoulou got very involved in the Lamborghini to the point of almost running a little bit wide, but very wise. He was up at the the S's of the Grand Prix circuit, Schumacher S, it used to be called it, and he didn't T-bone, but he used a lot of the road and didn't leave the Lamborghini a lot of road. but there's a huge runoff area at that part of concrete before he gets to gravel. Lamborghini, Adam, not stupid, let it back through again, as in, it's the first lap of the race. That was possibly a little bit naughty. I'm going to have to give that place back, which he did quite wisely. So that's the Mercedes of Adam Christodoulou. And we then have the dynamic Porsche still running quite strongly in its 7th place. The Ferrari 296 of Realised Condo Racing, that was running 2nd. That, of course, is just pitted. Tim Heinemann in the other Porsche, the remaining Porsche, and Conrad Motorsports Lamborghini in 10th place, with Juncadella in 11th and the other Lamborghini in the pit. So a huge variety up at the top still there, and it's we're not even halfway through.
Say that again. No, don't. We're not even halfway through. 13 hours and 20 minutes and a couple of bonus minutes on board still to run in this race. But just before John and Peter Mackay stepped out of the booth, John thought he'd better have a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. It does appear some big, strong winds are going to be blowing in, possibly in the afternoon. The race should be going through to 4 o'clock, so it could have a sting in the tail. But right now, we know the temperature is dropping after nightfall here at Nuburgring, but it's going to be rising sharply again tomorrow, up to 31 degrees.
Well, so it's still 17 degrees now.
Yeah. All is good. Right, I just want to quickly look down through the classes again, and the 948 with Dylan Pereira at the moment is leading the Cup 2 class for the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup cars by best part of 30 seconds over the Mulner Motorsport car with Martin Rump on board, Estonian racer. So those two have been the class of the field in Cup 2. And we'll see how that runs. But it's been just really from the outset of the race, the car that's been dominating that class has been number 948, Losch Motorsport. And again, quite a few names this year, new names, Peter. We're accustomed to a lot of these teams racing across the various rounds of the NLS, the Nuburgring Langstrecken Series, in the build-up towards this great event, particularly after we have the Nuburgring 24 Hours. Though it's not part of the championship, the NLS, some of the field does drift away again, and actually when it gets to autumn it then picks up. It's sort of a pattern we have, but so many of these drivers are just so busy pretty much every weekend across the year now. It's getting harder and harder to fit all your desired race programs in.
But there's so much fabulous GT racing across, GT3 racing in particular, across the world. Of course, we mention those cars all the time. They're the 20-odd cars at the front of this race, but of course we also got 130 cars started the race. There's a whole bit more than that, 140 I think it is. Yeah. There's a whole variety of cars in this, but there's TCRs, there's SB9s, SB8s, GT3s, GT4s,
and you get some unbelievably almost bog standard road cars as well, the production classes, and there's one of those that actually spun around poor David Kiefer in that number 94 Cup 2 class Porsche, which then moments later facing the wrong way just on the exit of the S's at the start of the lap, the Yokohama S. But the big problem there, Peter, you've turned right through the first corner. Normally you'd carry on a little bit back towards the paddock. We almost immediately jerking to the left. Body swinging around in the car still. But you're sitting low. There's a tyre wall, effectively like a little peninsula. You can't see over the top.
The roof of the Porsche.
And then when poor Julian Andlauer came round, found that number 94 David Kiefer Cup 2 Porsche facing the wrong way, he was also looking straight into the setting sun, so he was blinded, and bonnet to bonnet, and big damage.
Yeah, and unlike Marco Bortolotti, who said yesterday that he wasn't expecting a red flag, which kind of slightly bizarre statement, Julian Andlauer wouldn't be expecting a car facing the wrong way there. You go through doing your job, minding your own business, as you say that, flick right, flick left, and by the time you won't have time to process it. To be honest, you'll have hit it, and that's one of those that it's happened before. It's just unfathomable because you're not expecting an obstruction of a car facing the wrong way. You're totally unsighted anyway, just because of those tyres, plus the sunlight, but in a nanosecond, your race is over. And you're just sitting there just going, oh. what just happened.
Yeah, it's not like there's you've gone into a corner too fast necessarily, or seen someone else having a moment. Slight concern. We've had the number 88 Subaru in the garage before, and it's back there now. But I can't. I am worried. This car is. Some of the mechanics are taking their helmets off. Does that mean they're going to stop working on the car? Is it over and out? So that's a real shame if it is. It's Carlo Van Dam, Tim Trick, Kota Sasaki, and Rintaro Kubo. And again, Carlo's done a lot. The Dutch race has done a lot of driving over in Japan. Bonnet up, which is very kind to give the camera crew a chance
to look up. There's no oil leak in there.
Absolutely extraordinary, but. Yeah, the very body language of the people around the car is not rush, we're going to look under the bonnet, is it? But they're still standing around. I think they're just waiting for official clarification, but a shake of the hands there. I think that's Carlo Van Dam with sharing with Tim Schritt. I'm just trying to see who brought that in, but for Subaru, they gave it a very good shot. I'm not 100% sure it's over and out, but I sort of think it is now for them, and that's going to be very disappointment. There was some damage earlier. Tim Schritt just brought it in. Yeah, car 88 in the pits, but slightly baleful looks and expressions, would you not say, Peter?
Yeah, there's an air of resignation, isn't there, on all the faces there, but not gloom and doom and despondency. So I think they were kind of expecting that already by the look of it. It's just an affirmation of that which they knew.
Yeah, it's a shame. Big shame, because they've come across here over more than a decade trying to have a tilt, and Subaru, of course, in motor racing terms, in rallying terms, it for years suddenly became the manufacturer to go. But in circuit racing, it's been a much more of a low-level approach. But bear in mind that Subaru, particularly in the United Kingdom, before they went rallying, they were largely for people to drive around their farms on, because they were four-wheel drive. They weren't performance cars.
Well, there was a model called Forester, wasn't there?
Indeed, yeah. But it's amazing how motorsport can transform the appeal of a company and its reputation. And for Subaru, it really did. In the space of about 5 years, they got seriously rallying, won world championships. People like Colin McRae, can that really be 30 years ago? He did that, 1995. Do the maths. Yes, it can easily be 30 years ago. There we go. But the brand was created and still around all of Northern Europe. You see, the blue and yellow. The livery that they competed in with the stars on the door, and a lot of people just became lifelong aficionados of the marque. But for them, unfortunately, it's had to back out of it.
Well, we often use this phrase of, and also sometimes a bit carelessly or easily or casually of a win on Sunday, sell on Monday. But the very marketing behind it is for a manufacturer to have success on the racetrack, which the public that buy the car, the product, get to see, and it translates to, literally, we watch it on television now, or we see the car on track winning on Sunday. Monday we go to the showroom and go and buy the car. And I think Ford were probably one of the earliest to do that, with certainly the UK, and I think particularly European, but in the early 60s, 63, with the Ford Lotus Cortina, to take a bulk stand of what we would now call what became a hot hatch. It wasn't even that then, it was a 3-box saloon, very mundane, ordinary, simple car. And they went to Colin Chapman and said, do you want to do something with this? And they came up with the great Lotus Cortina. And my father used to say, I'm a pedant, so I know where I get it from. It's my father, so you can blame him. And he used to get really annoyed when people would say Ford Lotus Cortina, and people would say Mark 1 or Mark 2, and he'd say, there is only one Ford Lotus Cortina. There is a Ford Cortina Lotus. And he was absolutely right, because originally the first cars were very, very race-bred. And they were the car was part built by Ford and then shipped to Lotus at Cheshunt in England and finished by Lotus with all the clever trick bits on it. And there were lots of it, of engine and gearbox and diffs and rear suspension, and panels were different and all sorts. And then went back to Ford showrooms.